sometimes in the sport it's enough just to try to beat the opponents who are put in front of them. But there are a special few for whom that's never quite enough, and Roy Jones is front and center among those special few. Roy is always chasing some bigger goal, whether it be his place in history, never quite big enough to satisfy himself, or his dominance of his opponents, never big enough to satisfy his critics.
Few present-day athletes have dominated their competition quite like Roy Jones. Over the course of his career, he has so thoroughly outclassed his opponents that finding a legitimate in-the-ring challenge has become the challenge. But tonight could be different. Tonight there's plenty at stake. Not only will Roy be fighting to become the only undisputed belt holder in his sport, he's fighting an opponent he's had his eye on for quite some time.
Reджи Johnson sparred with Roy Jones down in Pensacola a few years ago, and apparently Roy did not appreciate the fact that his father, Roy Sr., took an interest in Reджi and was helping training him, because Roy had the foresight to say, hey, I may meet this guy sometime.
Why would you even be spending time with him like that? Our paths are going to cross if he is successful. And sure enough, now it's been about 7-8 years, but they're about to cross now.
Their paths have intersected, and with a victory tonight, the undisputed light heavyweight championship would be Roy's. If he achieves that goal, might the time finally be right to test the waters as a heavyweight? It's been talked about for years.
He has a lot of trouble finding opponents as a light heavyweight. When you're too good for the guys in your division, the only thing to do is quit or move up.
The biggest point of intrigue is that people think he's gonna kill me. People think ain't no way in the world Roy Jones is big enough to beat no heavyweight. He's too small. And I love to hear people say they think I can't.
But history supports the naysayers. Although Michael Spinks won the heavyweight title, the only light heavy to do so, he was eventually embarrassed by a much bigger puncher. Other 175-pound greats like Billy Conn, Archie Moore, and Bob Foster all failed in their attempts. So what chance does this former junior middleweight have?
There's plenty of heavyweights out there that Roy Jones can beat. I think Jones would come in about 182, 183 pounds. You have to remember when Billy Conn fought Joe Louis, he only weighed 169 pounds. Against one of the greatest heavyweights that ever lived, and damn near won the fight.
Roy has to pick the right time and the right guy if he's going to make the jump. Lennox Lewis was just simply too big. Evander Holyfield at this point, perfect. Roy Jones and Evander right now, I would say, would be a very competitive fight.
Roy's plan is not to become a heavyweight for good, but to fight once for the heavyweight title against the right opponent, like Evander Holyfield.
Be a great matchup for me because of the size. You know, he's not too big for me because I'm smaller. He won't come out and try to finish me off right away and get it over with. But I think, you know, I'm far too elusive for that. And after he got over that, then the fight will start. And I think it'll be downhill for him from that point forward.
If I had Roy Jones, I would have had him fight Evander Holyfield at least a year ago, because I think he has the punching power and the speed to make Holyfield an easy fight for him.
I'm not a guy who is afraid of nothing. I'm 30 years old. What do I have to be afraid of? I do whatever the fans want to see. I know the fans wanted to see a unification fight, so I made that had to happen. They want to see me go to Milwaukee and wrestle a buffalo with a pair of gloves on, and that's what'll happen.
Whatever happens, wouldn't it be fun? Not the buffalo and the gloves, but to see Roy Jones Jr. fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Welcome back. Roy Jones is someone you've gotten to know, as we all have, because, of course, among his many involvements, he works for HBO. But how about those many involvements? I mean, this is a guy who, he's playing on a semi-pro basketball team, so he trains in 2 different places. He works for HBO. He's got a carpet cleaning business. He's getting into the boxing promotion business. He owns a music studio. I'm leaving out 2 or 3 things. He's got a big farm. He tends to 100 chickens. Too many different walks of life for one guy, or perfect for somebody with the energy of Roy Jones?
Well, in boxing, they talk about the deterioration of brain cells. They won't deteriorate if you're using them. This guy is definitely using his brains. He's having a lot of fun. All boxers should take this lead and try to do the same thing. I think he needs more things to do.
So you don't think that there's a danger of distracting him from the difficult task of boxing?
No, the days of, I got to ask coach, it's gone forever. These are the days of the many facets of heavyweight, middleweight, and, of course, light heavyweight boxers.
Well, let's see what happens to Roy Jones as a light heavyweight boxer as he continues that incarnation tonight. Meanwhile, there's been a delay in Reджi Johnson's dressing room, where they had difficulty for a while finding a set of gloves to fit him. Now they've finally gotten the right gloves. As you can see, they're putting them on at this moment, and Reджi will be coming out to the ring very shortly to get ready for this battle against Roy Jones. George, let's talk about Reджи Джонсон. And I talked about how well you know Roy Jones. Reggie grew up in the same neighborhood in Houston where you grew up. His father was what, a schoolmate of yours?
That's right. We had the 3rd and 4th grade together. I could whip his dad.
So you've whipped a lot of people, George. So you know as well as anybody the difficult path that he's had to travel to get here. And of course, with Roy focused on so many different things, I mean, you know, you say it's not a distraction. Michael Jordan's at ringside tonight because he's Roy's business partner and they're launching a clothing line. It's like a perfect psychological setup for an upset for Reggie if he's ready to do his job.
The difference between a contender and a champion, motivation. You got to be motivated. If you can catch Roy Jones tonight not motivated, this guy could clean him out. That's the only difference. Physically, they're the same. Mentally, they could be the same, but motivation. You got to be motivated.
Because Reджи Johnson's a terrific fighter. He was a middleweight champion before he began to have trouble making 160 pounds. Eventually found his comfort zone when he moved up to 175. He's waited a long, long time to get this coveted opportunity to fight against Roy Jones.
My road has been a windy, uphill, downhill, uphill road, a lot of bumps that I've had to overcome.
Once a middleweight champion and currently a reigning light heavyweight champ, Reginald Johnson has never been a household name. Tonight, Reджи Johnson, a man continually with his back against a wall, plans to step out of the shadows of his difficult past.
Around 8 years old, his father went away to prison behind an assault case.
I remember being a little kid, being the one traveling with my mother to go see my dad behind a big, thick glass window. It made me feel sad.
And these were really hard days for him. He would become sometimes emotionally detached.
It was kind of degrading for my son to see me in that situation.
He would ask me, when is he going to be allowed to come home?
Home was the roughest neighborhood in all of Texas, Houston's 5th Ward, where getting out was the road less traveled.
You have the drugs, the prostitution, the robberies, Watts, South Central, 5th Ward. You know, from one ghetto to the other, they're all the same.
One of my sisters said to him that he was going to wind up like his dad if he wasn't careful.
A misdirected 12-year-old then turned to his uncle, an amateur boxer, for some much-needed guidance.
Started in the garage. We just took an old croaker sack, a potato sack, and we filled it with sand. And he was really good, man. So I took him with me to the boys club. He never looked back.
The one thing about that day, the minute I took those gloves off, it was like I found my niche.
But Reggie's mother would still need further convincing that boxing was the right kind of intervention to take him off the street.
He would pull on my sleeve and say, "Coach, when are you going to talk to Mama? I want to box." So me and Reg went over there. She came out on the porch. And she said,
"You're Coach Carter from the boys club." And he was like, "Yes, I am."
She said, "You want my son to box?" I said, "Yes, ma'am."
"No, sir, I don't think so."
Coach Carter persuaded Reggie's mother to give him a trial, and within 2 years, he won over 90 amateur bouts. He turned pro and became a middleweight champion before his career derailed because of managerial disputes which cost him time, money, and recognition.
I don't look at it as a complete loss because it's never too late to turn things around.
Something he's learned from his father, who's put his own life back together over the last 6 years. For Reджи, his turnabout came last year in a dramatic upset victory over William Guthrie.
A new belt holder in the light heavyweight division.
And with that, a heartfelt wish was fulfilled.
I used to always look out and I would see 2 empty chairs. My mother and father weren't there for the most part.
I've always known this is something that he always wished for.
For Reg to have us there, we know the importance of it.
It's nice now looking out there knowing that, you know, through it all, I proved a lot of people wrong.
Tonight, Reджи Johnson has another hill to climb. Amid near unanimous expectations, he's about to get punched back toward the bottom of the boxing heap. But it's a long way from the 5th Ward to the spotlight. And to have made the trip and to have brought Mom and Dad with him is a satisfaction that can never be knocked out.
Norma Johnson, mother of Robert Johnson, father of, and former schoolmate of George Foreman, in the dressing room. Cheering their son on as he warms and gets ready to come to the ring, fight the biggest fight of his life against Roy Jones. Tail of the tape for this light heavyweight title fight. And you can see that Roy Jones has reached the age of 30, but is still 2 years younger than Reджи Джонсон, an inch in height to Jones. They weighed in at 174 and 171, and Reджи Джонсон says, I'm just not going to get much bigger than 175 pounds. This is my body. This is who I am. So he's giving up 7 pounds in weight to Jones, who gained 8 since yesterday's weigh-in. 2-inch reach advantage to Jones. Punch stat numbers, and you can see that for the 2 fight averages, Jones against Otis Grant and Lou Duval, Johnson against William Guthrie and Will Taylor. It is Johnson who has slightly the better numbers. How about jabs? Well, once again, and again unusually, it is Reджi Johnson who has slightly the better jab numbers coming into the fight against Jones. And one odds maker in Vegas called this a 15-to-1 fight. Those odds are outlandishly lopsided because Reджi Johnson's just too good to be a 15-to-1 underdog against anybody, even Roy Jones. Harold Letterman, the rules of the bout.
Jim, the rules of the bout. The Roy Jones Jr. Reджi Johnson fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the 12th and final round. Jim.
And first to enter will be Reджi Johnson. You see behind him the man who has taken over the training chores for this fight, Don Turner, well known as trainer to both Evander Holyfield and Michael Grant in the heavyweight division. Reджi Johnson turned his career around with the stunning one-punch right hook knockout of William Guthrie last year that earned him a light heavyweight title.
Can you turn that music up some, man? Yeah! Get up, boys, in the house! What's up? Reджi Johnson in the house. This goes out to anybody and everybody who has to have to fight for everything.
Johnson in, Turner following him in. And the record for Reджi Johnson, 39 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw. 2 of those losses, incidentally, were close, tough decision losses in Argentina to Argentine Jorge Castro. Even Roy Jones says, no way Reджi was going to win one of those fights. Referee Elmo Adolph with a little early instruction to Johnson as Roy Jones prepares to come in. The name of Roy's walkout music is Drop Bombs, which is the flip side of his own new single, I Pray, to be released later this month. And Roy Jones's record, the 1 loss, a disqualification against Montel Griffin, immediately avenged via a first-round knockout. 33 KOs in 39 fights, 13-1, 9 KOs in title fights. And you saw the statistic, almost incredible, that shows that Jones is about to defend his title against a southpaw for the 4th consecutive time. While you're watching this fight, you can log on to www.hbo.com/boxing to chat and score each round of tonight's action. You can also voice your opinion on the poll question for the night. If Roy Jones wins, should he move up to the heavyweight division and campaign there? Give us a yes or no, and we'll provide you with the results of that poll later on. Now let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, Murad Muhammad's M&M Sports in association with Jordan Brand, Cedric Kushner Promotions, Square Ring, and the Grand Casino present 12 rounds of boxing for the unified IBF, WBA, WBC Light Heavyweight Championship of the World. Sanctioned by the Mississippi State Athletic Commission, Chairman Billy Lyons, Commissioner Fred Ingelis, Chief Deputy Commissioner Sal Taranto, physicians at ringside, Dr. Lance Barnes, Dr. Todd Cothern, timekeeper at the bell, Denver Anderson, counting for the knockdown seconds, Wayne Premu. From the Grand Casino, ladies and gentlemen, your 3 judges assigned here at ringside, scoring the bout on a 10-point must system will be from California, Chuck Hassett, from Venezuela, Cova Jesus, and from Mississippi, Paul Sita. And when the bell rings, your referee in charge of the action, Elmo Adolf. And now, from the Grand Casino of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, for the thousands attendants and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting a corner, wearing white with blue and weighing 171 pounds. As an amateur, he accumulated nearly 100 victories, and now, as a professional, he is a 2-time world title holder with 39 victories, 24 by knockout, with 5 losses and a draw. He comes to this ring wearing 1 championship belt and plans to leave wearing 3. Ladies and gentlemen, from Houston, Texas, here is the former middleweight world champion and reigning, defending IBF light heavyweight champion of the world, Reджи Sweet Johnson. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing black trimmed with red, he weighs 174 pounds. In 1988, he was a silver medalist while deserving Olympic gold. Now, as a professional, he has a record consisting of 39 victories, including 33 knockouts, with only 1 loss, disputed and avenged. And he has captured 4 world titles in 3 divisions, while most experts recognize him as, pound for pound, the best there is. Ladies and gentlemen, from Pensacola, Florida, presenting the 4-time world champion, the reigning and defending WBA, WBC light heavyweight champion of the world, Roi Jones Jr.
Let's get everybody out. Get them all out. Get them all out. Hi, gentlemen. Both of you professionals. I expect you to pay attention to my commands out here. Let's have a good fight. Shake hands. Come out boxing.
8 years ago, Reджи Johnson was briefly brought to Pensacola, Florida, and trained in the gym for a period of time, about 6 or 8 weeks, with Roi Jones's dad, Roi Jones Sr., who was still training his son at that time. Roi Jones Sr. asked Roi to get in the ring and spar with Reджi Johnson. And Roi, after a brief period of time doing so, stepped away and said, "This is nonsense. If I'm going to be measured, I shouldn't be measured against a guy I'm someday going to fight for a title." Jones was right. He knew that their paths would eventually cross.
Reджi's got to make sure he jump on Roi and get ahead on points. Stay ahead on points. You're a challenger. You're supposed to be motivated to get that title. Roy Jones' job is to make certain that he doesn't give this guy too much courage, because once he starts landing one shot at a time, then he's going to fall right into Reggie's trap.
The expectation is that Jones would choose to box and be safe. Even his good friend Derek Smoke Gaynor said to us yesterday, I want him to box. This should be an easy fight. But Roy Jones said to us, well, don't necessarily count on it. I might decide to go ahead and confront him man-to-man in the first round because I think he wants it that way.
It's already starting to go Reggie's way. Roy lands one shot, and it turns into a clinch. Reggie gets in 2 or 3 before all of that happened.
Reggie getting in the little pops to the body, as you saw them in that last clinch. 1 minute down, hard right hand by Jones, and Johnson goes straight on to the seat of his pants. There's the quickness and the power of Roy Jones.
That's the quickness and the power. But you got a long night. You don't want to be doing it with one shot.
Another right hand lead lands on Johnson, and Johnson trying to fight back. Apparently wanting to communicate right away to Jones, that was a flash knockdown. You didn't hurt me that badly.
That punch hurt. And Reggie, this is all new to Reggie now. He's into another category.
Jones told us that he felt the straight right hand would be the dominant punch in his arsenal. Already the returns are in.
One thing you want to do is Reggie's corner. You got to let them know where Roy Jones's power range is. You got to keep your hands set.
Let's go, get out of it.
2 weeks ago, Oscar De La Hoya knocked Obakar down in the first round, and it looked for a moment as though it would be an easy fight. 10 rounds later, De La Hoya was still fighting before he earned his TKO of Obakar. Another quick right hand by Jones.
Now, Reggie's going to have to set his defense, find out where that shot hurt me, and put his hand right there in that position.
And a cut above the right eye of Reджи Джонсон. Little cut just at the corner of the right eye. He was cut in the 12th round of the Will Taylor fight over the right eye. That was February. Now, 4 months later, the cut emerges again in the same place.
Over that flash knockdown happened, Reggie sticking strengths with the same strategy, throwing 4 or 5. Roy Jones, you don't want him throwing shots. You want him defending himself at all times.
Great right hand lands for Reджи Джонсон. Obviously, his plan was to go to the body. But there's a knockdown, there's blood, there's a highly energetic Roy Jones, there's a wildly enthusiastic crowd, and already Reджи Johnson is in an uphill fight.
Get that blood off him, man. Get that blood off his chest.
You're giving him too much time to work, man. He's leaning over at the waist. He can't hurt you if you get close to him.
Let's take a look at the knockdown from 3 angles as you look CompuBox numbers that showed Roy Jones fighting economically but effectively. And there's the straight right hand.
Right on top of the eye. And you know, if a guy's throwing one shot, here we go again. And you don't even think it hurt when you punch it with that kind of power. It happens so quickly. Takes a moment for you before your legs tell you, hey, you're down.
So the knockdown and the cut came from the same punch.
I believe it's in the same area.
Look that way. All of Roy Jones's 12 punch connects in the first round were power shots. I don't think he'll throw too many jabs against a southpaw. And you heard Don Turner telling Reджи Johnson, get inside and don't give him any time to work. Reджi Johnson's listening.
You want to get inside and land as many punches as you can so that you can make Roy Jones following you around, landing one shot at a time.
Looking at Jones in his battles against Mike McCallum, Montel Griffin, and a couple of others, Lou Duval in particular. Reджi Johnson's people, Don Turner most particularly, felt as though if you back Roy up against the ropes, he's not effective. But he's certainly awfully effective when he stands in the middle of the ring like this.
All right, let's go. Get out. Break it clean. Step back.
The thing about this Roy Jones, he's so conditioned. It takes a lot of energy to throw that many power shots. And Reggie's having a difficult time trying to decide which defense is he going to use.
Speed.
Speed is the great equalizer in so many sports, and speed is the difference so far between Jones and Johnson.
It doesn't matter who you're fighting, you have a defense. You set your defense, you don't move your hands back and forward, you just set it where the guy's going to hit you.
Johnson getting to the body. Jones backs up. Hard right hand uppercut by Jones.
And you notice Reggie's hands were right in the right spot that time.
Keep him up.
Now he blocks a right hand with his left glove, does Reджи Johnson, and fires a right to Jones's chest. Backs Jones up into the ropes as he goes to Roy's body.
Back up, Reджи. Back up. Watch your head. Watch your head.
A lot of times you think you have to move your hands back and forward, but just setting your defense, you're out of trouble. Keep your hands up at all times.
Jim Lampley and George Foreman live at ringside in Biloxi, Mississippi. Larry Merchant not with us tonight, home in California for his daughter Julie's graduation from high school. And Jones, having already knocked Reджi Johnson down once in the first round, looks for another one in the second.
Roy Jones is awful courageous. Now he's throwing combinations, which he should have always been doing. Roy Jones, throw your combinations. Although you're powerful, use the 1, 2, 3.
Put your punches up, Roy. Watch your lower.
Jones digging up and under with the right hand. And again, this is the 10-second warning, not the end of the round. Elmo Adolf has to let the fighters know that that's not the end of the round. That's the bell that ends the round. Confusing.
Way to play off his jab. That's good. That 4-3 working, baby. Okay. That 4-3 working off his jab. I got it. Okay. Pull the cup out. Okay. Get that blood off his chest, man. All right. Way to go. Way to follow his jab up. You follow that jab right back.
When he get close, he want to run. Make him run. You got to get close. Cut down his...
about the cut. Ain't nothing we can't handle. Relax. Relax.
When you do hook, step back. Because coming with the straight right. Okay. And counter punch. Straight left and right hook. Coming up, you got to move to the right, Reджi.
If Elmo Adolf hasn't expressed an opinion to officials at ringside as to whether that cut was the product of a butt or a punch, we're not sure. We showed you the punch in the first round that could have caused the cut. There's head contact, which also could have caused the cut. So we're not sure which was the instance in which Reджи Johnson's right eye got sliced open. Now we go to round 3.
Whenever Roy Jones spreads his legs any length of a way, he's trying to get in a power shot. Now, I think Reggie's corner should be advising him not allow this guy to spread his legs.
How do you stop him?
What you do is just stay close, real close to him. Make him back up everything after he backs up.
I'm pretty sure Don Turner would want Reджi Johnson to crowd Jones a lot more than he's doing.
When he spreads his legs, you can also just kind of move back a little bit and make him bring his feet together again.
We're told, incidentally, that Johnson's corner firmly believes that the cut over Reggie's right eye was from the butt, not from the punch in round 1. Of course, it's in their best interest to believe that. Johnson with a looping left hand, and now digging to Jones's body. Jones backs him up with a right.
Now, when he backs his legs up, move back a little bit and make him start all over again. This is what Regjie has to do.
Right, hold on. Let's go. Let's go. Don't push him in, Rod. Don't push him in, Rod.
Roy Jones doesn't like using his left jab, so he uses everything with his feet, spreads them apart.
Does Roy drop his left hand so low because he wants you to fire the right so he can counter over it?
He spreads himself because he doesn't use a jab. He's looking for the same thing that you could create with a right jab or left jab. He just can't
Punch
stand
combination by Jones. Too much speed for Johnson to handle. More lead right hands. Reджи Johnson backing up against the ropes and not throwing, blinded by Jones's speed.
Roy Jones is pretty clever. He knows all this is created in the middle of the ring, so he's not going to throw everything while this guy's on the rope. Try to pull him back out to the middle of the ring and do what you did originally.
Has there ever in the history of the sport been a 175-pound fighter with the kind of hand speed that Roy Jones has?
He's gifted. He started off in the lighter weights, and just like one of those jet pilots. Speed moved up with him, and you see what happens. That hurt.
Whoa. 6, 7, 8. Reджi Johnson has never been knocked out. And now round 3 comes to a close. Or did it? The knockdown. Want to see it again?
You see Roy gets a chance to spread his feet. Boom. Straight right hand right on the button. And it bent his knees. You don't allow him to spread his legs. Once again, he's got it. Happens so quickly that you just can't duck.
Second knockdown in 3 rounds. Second time Johnson's been knocked down by a quick, straight right hand. This one set up by a left. The one in the first round was a single punch knockdown.
Seldom you see guys with that kind of speed, accuracy, and then have the power to go along with it. You just don't see it much.
Harold Letterman, how do you have it through the first 3?
3-0, 30-25. Roy Jones Jr. You certainly have to give him an extra point in round 1. You got to give him an extra point in round 3. Personally, I thought they should have sent in a doctor in the corner at the end of the 3rd round to look at Reджi Johnson. There was no doctor in there. I tell you, I still think Reджi Johnson's coming out for the 4th round hurt. But this is all Roy Jones. Look at that.
Yep, we could see a finish here. Well called, Harold, as Reджi Johnson has no legs, or at least is diminished, beginning round 4.
Well, one thing about this, Reджi is one of the best fighters in this weight class ever. He doesn't even know what to do. Roy Jones is there and beyond.
Yep. Johnson looking hesitant and confused as he trained hard, had a good plan, was mentally focused and prepared, and has simply been dazzled by Jones's overwhelming physical gifts.
Seldom you see a guy get to this stage as Roy Jones has and continuously gets into the ring in shape.
Roy firing to the body that time. Jones has become increasingly fond of body punches in the past 4 or 5 fights. Very proud last year when he knocked Virgil Hill out with a body shot here.
That goes to show you he's holding something back right now. Hasn't been able to get in a good body shot. That ever happened, my goodness. Just cannot drop your hands when you're boxing Roy Jones. They have to be up. You ducking, cover your face.
George, I know you're a big Oscar De La Hoya fan. You have a lot of admiration for Trinidad and Prince Nassim and various other fighters in the sport. Is Roy your pound-for-pound #1?
I've never seen anything like this. Roy Jones reminds me of a little more Muhammad Ali, stinging hook with Joe Frazier. He's everything you'd want to see in a fighter, and you're not going to see that much. I can't tell you that about the other guys. They are great.
The reflexes of a Ray Leonard or a Ray Robinson.
Anything you want, he has it. I mean, he's got body punching power.
So it's been all Roy Jones for the first 4 rounds.
And like Oscar De La Hoya, he has courage.
Yeah. Sensational uppercut snaps Johnson's head back. And Roy beginning to clown just a little bit for the audience here.
You can't play with Reджi, though. You can't play with him.
Roy even looks away to try to tempt Reджi to come off the ropes. And dances with Elmo Adolf.
for further entertainment.
Listen.
One-sided copy box numbers reflecting Jones's overwhelming dominance against a guy who was regarded as one of his toughest opponents ever.
Do you understand?
Here's the uppercut, George.
There you are, and that's something you don't expect Roy Jones to do. You have to keep your hands in position at all times.
Seated at ringside, Reджи Johnson's mother, Norma Johnson, remembering now why all those years ago she wasn't sure she wanted her son to box.
This is the time. This is what it's all about. You can't win them all.
Let's get all this ice out of here. Let's keep this ice.
All right, ice and moisture in Johnson's corner. I wonder if Reggie's handlers thought maybe they could concoct a little delay here.
Does nothing but help Reджi.
That's right.
Let's go, fellas.
He's definitely the beneficiary. Now they start round 5 of a scheduled 12.
Now, Reджi, when you can't do anything else, go back to your basics. Use your left jab, feint, come in with your right jab, feint, come in with a little right hook every now and then, box. Nothing else is working. The basics, always you can call on your basics.
Of course, is what's coming back.
No, you can the basics. He stepped out of the basics, reaching out for hard shots with Roy Jones a little early on, throwing combinations without understanding what he's doing. But now he can go back to the basics. He's been a boxer for many years. If you throw a right jab, a left jab, right jab at this point, at Roy Jones Jr., you're not going to miss him. You take the power off of it, you're going to get him.
Landing 3 punches. Johnson manages to connect with a right.
Once again, he drops his right hand.
Drops his right hand.
You can't do that. Your defense has to be set because this guy is so quick. You can't depend on your reflexes.
Boy's just looking for another opening for that straight right hand lead. Fires it there.
Reджi stepping back just to counter one time. Looking for one good counter straight left hand.
That time Jones stepping into the right hand and Johnson hugging him up to stop the momentum.
Still looking for one shot, Reджi. Roy's got his legs spread, so he's intending to land a hard shot.
Well, it's an almost insurmountable task facing Johnson now because he's bound to be 4, 5, 6 points down on the scorecards. He hasn't had a knockout past the 5th round since 1993. And he's going against a guy who is overwhelming him and swamping him with punching accuracy and activity. And putting on a show. He would have to go back to the basics, try to break Roy down to the body, and set him up for something in the late round.
Right jab, you double up on your jab, you go to the body, you feint. It's the auto self-defense. This is the time to defend yourself.
He's not doing any of that.
You see, boxing was invented so that the smaller guy, the frailer guy, can have an advantage with the skills. Use your skills.
Move to the right.
Hey, Reджи.
Another one.
Listen, Reджi.
Whoa. And you saw the one punch Johnson landed. It was that winging right hand around the top.
Man. The guy's quick. You can see that, right? You got to nullify his speed, man. You got to crowd him and throw punches and make him back up. You letting him be the aggressor. Come on, man.
Come on, right there. Hot shot him and then move out. Don't stay there. Let it work. Make a mistake, you go catch him clean. Let it work. Deep breath.
Kid Gavilan invented the bolo punch.
Seconds.
Kid Gavilan landed it a little harder than that a lot of times.
Sometimes when you're not doing what you want to do, you just get the crowd involved by doing funny things. This is sometimes still the circus, you know.
Roy, conscious of the fact that there are fans here who may not have seen Kid Gavilan in his prime, just wanted to show him a little glimpse.
Well, there's a lot of water falling off of Roy Jones. This ring can become very slippery.
So where's the Reджи Johnson right hook that KO'd William Guthrie when Guthrie came at him?
Roy Jones has a little height advantage, and he spreads his legs apart. When you jump him too much, he gets out of the way.
And now a fusillade of punches by Jones. Pop, pop, pop. Johnson ducking and slipping, fires a right hand.
Now he's allowing Johnson to step back on his left foot. There you go. He brings him back into the middle of the ring. This is where he's got the advantage. Reджi touches him on the shoulder with his right hand every now and then just to know where he is.
One element of the Jones plan he has completely fulfilled here. Told us that he would try in every round to remind Johnson who the man is. He wanted psychological domination. He's had it ever since round one. And you heard Don Turner between rounds pleading with his fighter to be more aggressive.
There you go, a good right hook that by Reджi Jackson.
By Reджi Johnson.
Johnson, I'm sorry. Reджi got in a good right hook. It wasn't hard, but it made Roy Jones understand you're still in a boxing match.
It halted the Jones combination flurry.
He touches him here and there. Keeps that right hand too low.
Meaning Reджi Johnson.
Reджi Johnson, he drops it. If you're going to drop it low, then put it on the side of your chin that your hand is low, that you're carrying the hand low on. Roy Jones has succeeded in allowing Reджi to get some confidence in the latter round. That's something he shouldn't.
Well, in this round only.
Yeah. No, his confidence would never wane. He got up from the floor, didn't run and hide. When you're in the light heavyweight, you just can't go on one punch. You gotta finish it up. Come back with that hook.
Left-right combination by Jones. Another left by Jones. Another busted right hand across the chops of Johnson. And this despite the fact that the last minute of the round has been Johnson's best minute in quite some time. The 1960s were among the most volatile and turbulent decades in American history. In the world of sport, no event would so transcend the playing fields as the 1968 Summer Olympics. In August, Sports of the 20th Century presents Fists of Freedom, a documentary which looks back at the origin, the individuals, and the after effects of the moment when African-American athletes changed the face of sports forever.
You got to get closer and let your hands go, man. Do you understand?
You were in Mexico City when...
You got to get close and throw combinations, man. You
Tommy Smith and John Carlos held their fists up on the victory stand.
I was there.
How aware were you of their actions, and how did it affect you?
It affected the Olympic teams more than anything. Inside the village, it had a shock effect. No one wanted to lose a teammate. And we felt like our teammate had been kicked off the team. It scared us. We were hurt. No matter who you are, we didn't understand the media aspect of it.
Did it influence your decision to wave little American flags after you won your gold medal, or was that something you would have done anyway?
Well, I think even Tommy Smith and John Carlos really were there because of that flag. Don't forget that. They had something else to say. These were patriotic guys.
Harold, how'd you have it through 6?
Jim, I think this is incredible. 6-0, 60-52, Roy Jones Jr. I mean, I've never seen such an incredible performance of speed and power. He's fighting a good light heavyweight. This is no slouch in there, and he's doing everything. Doubling those left hooks, great right hand leads, pounding away at the body, good defense, good ring generalship, stays away from Johnson's shots. I think it's all Roy Jones, and I think it's a heck of a performance he's putting on against a real good fighter.
We showed you CompuBox numbers coming into the fight that showed Reджi
Johnson had landed close to 40% of his punches against his last two opponents. Tonight, 33 out of 205, 16% connect percentage. Just can't get anything going against Jones, and Jones is landing more than half his punches.
Jones is starting to use the left jab at the beginning of the round. He jab, double jab, and things of that nature also. Just doesn't have the confidence once he gets the guy on the ring, on the ropes. Yeah. Seem to want to pull him back off every time. Now, if you're Reggie, you exploit that. Do what you're going to do and go back to the ropes.
Reджи Johnson with a hard right hand to the body. Jones pops and moves.
Reggie is going to the body, but it's not about wearing the body down. He's trying to load this guy into a hard, straight left hand. Now, when Roy Jones Jr. gets on the rope, he doesn't have any room to plant and further move his right foot. So then he's vulnerable.
Now he gets back into the middle of the ring, where he's been able to land that right-hand lead at will.
Yeah, because he's able to spread that leg. The right leg gets further and further back. Reggie's corner told him to get on this guy. They were exactly correct. It takes courage.
And after using the right-hand lead almost exclusively for the first 5 rounds, Jones in the last 2 rounds begins, as George Foreman points out, to land the left jab. And that sets up stuff like this.
And a good body shot by Roy Jones for the first time. He's going to the body.
Sends Johnson into the peekaboo stance, fires combinations. We've seen what he can do to the body.
And you notice Johnson on the ropes. He's able to exploit Roy Jones Jr. Gets back to the middle of the ring. Nothing there. Got to hit him and slide back into that uncertain territory.
Reджi Johnson just trying to land something, throwing soft punches to the chest of Roy Jones.
Oh, don't put so much raw on him. It's dangerous out here,
We'll get it up.
It's getting dangerous, but out here it's getting dangerous.
When you hit, bro. Go ahead, shoot. All over my head. All right. You lean into his man to the back. You lean into the left, you go southpaw, you might be able to get a hook in. You lean over to the left a lot. Try to see what you can see. Try to get a right uppercut in too. Or right hand. It's going to nullify his hook. If you turn southpaw, you're going to be further away from his hook than you are with your jab next to him.
Get on him when you hit him.
And another look at Roy Jones's combination punching ability as Reджi Johnson comes back with some stuff to the body. And Jones says, yes, those are my ribs. Now here's my right hand. Reджi Johnson averaging only 33 punches per round and landing fewer than 20% of them. Now tries to start off round 8 with a rally.
You notice whenever he's up close throwing shots, nothing happened to him. You got to keep on him, stay right on him. It's a safety zone there. You get a corner man, you get coaches, you're supposed to study the films, find out your safety zone, find out your power shots, what can happen in what spot of the gym. You don't follow a guy everywhere.
Reджi Johnson has been on the canvas twice, knocked down in the first, knocked down in the third, both times by straight right hands. He was also cut over the right eye in the first round, maybe by Jones's straight right hand, maybe by an unintentional headbutt. Hard to tell.
There it goes again. That's the safety zone. You want to keep that up. If you're Reджi, stay right there. Don't get back, only to rest.
In the late rounds of his battle with Lou Duval at Madison Square Garden last
Hook
summer,
to the body hurt Reджi.
Yeah, that was a hard left-hand body shot.
Right there by Roy Jones.
Yep. I was about
Reggie's
to say,
trying to recuperate. He's moving around because of it.
and Jones fires his straight right upstairs, trying to take advantage. Now popping the jab.
Roy was able to allow him to recuperate, so now he's going to go right back to getting him into the ropes.
There used to be a time when Roy Jones didn't want to fight southpaws, didn't like fighting. Now he's gotten so used to it, he's creating more and more ways of attacking against the southpaw.
You notice he never changes anything about himself. He doesn't look to plant his left foot anywhere. He just boxes as though he's fighting a regular right-hander.
Fourth straight time he's defended his title against the southpaw. He's not really worried about it anymore. I was going to say, George, that in the later rounds of his battle with Duval last summer in Madison Square Garden in New York, Jones clearly got bored and distracted. And it helped lead to the first knockdown of his career as Duval was able to knock him down. Johnson has to be hoping that Roy's mind will wander again as he has completely dominated the first 7 rounds.
Another thing you can pay some attention to, the referees. Whenever Reggie gets Roy on the ropes, the referee comes in and say, get back. Now, wait a minute. You can still fight on the ropes.
All right, let's go. Get out, fellas. Get out.
Star-studded crowd in Biloxi. Evander Holyfield across the ring in the middle of your shot, looking right at you. And farther over to the left extreme edge of the screen, right behind Roy Jones, is Michael Jordan. Everybody loves to come to boxing matches.
That's good. You see that on that side? We're in Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Glamour, the pump.
MISSI, SSI, PPI.
Put some on top of the gun.
Let's try to put three together at least.
Body punishment, George.
Yeah, Roy Jones had started just whenever he wanted to, but that's his calling card. Throw hard shots to the body. None of those things hurt.
Seconds. Let's go, corner.
When your corner telling you to go.
Norma Johnson's son, Reggie, way down in the fight. Way behind on the scorecards. Roy Jones leaking about a gallon of water onto the ring canvas right now. I don't know how they're going to keep their footing in this corner of the ring, because Roy came back in as though he had just emerged from the shower.
Reggie picks up the pace a little bit, trying to find a way.
Pop, pop. Jones's hand speed still there. Hard right to the body by Reджи Johnson. And the blood begins to flow again next to Reggie's right eye. How about the cut in the corner of the eye like that, George? Bothersome because the blood trickles in?
Yes, bothersome. And also, people don't understand that losing blood in a boxing match sure can make you weak.
Even from the small cut?
Small cut. Every bit of your body, you've been training for months. You haven't been bleeding in the gym. You need every drop. Only he can make Roy Jones lose his temper a little bit and just get wild like that. Then Reggie's in business. You want him to keep doing that. That's the only chance that Reggie can get something in himself.
Partially blocked right hand shot. Jones loading up right hands and trying to look for a knockout here.
For a moment he lost his concentration and started winging them a little without any accuracy. That's when you want to counter.
But Reggie didn't counter.
Reggie, like I said, the losing of the blood, the knockdowns, bended his legs a few times.
The discouragement, the confusion, the blinding hand speed of Roy Jones. The counter punches that hurt. The fact that it's a hard sport, not an easy sport. The fact that you train months to get yourself ready for disappointment like this, if you're Reджi Johnson, it's tough.
Yeah, but the fight is on. You got to think like the hare in the tortoise. Hey, Let the rabbit get away. Win the race, thinking he's winning. Then he goes to sleep. Pass him up. And that was the first jab that Reджи was able to land that time.
Hard right hand lands for Jones. Little left hook behind it. Straight right hand lands again. Johnson not punching as Jones goes to work.
Those body shots, they hurt.
Wins the 9th round by about 6 miles.
All right, we won the round. That's all I want. All I want. What is it? Let's keep winning the round.
It's 10 coming up. Right, Reджи?
You got 3 more rounds, man. Come on. Let's go, man. You got 3 more rounds. You want to be champion of the world, man? Come on, let's go.
Okay, Reджi? All right. Go here. Let's do it. Need water.
Feeling good? Are we going to the 10?
Yeah, big shot.
Yeah.
In 2 separate rounds here tonight by CompuBox numbers, Reджi Johnson has landed 1 punch in 1 round, 2 punches in another round. Jones, you'll recall, once held Vinny Pazienza to 0 connects for a complete round. That's the only time in the history of CompuBox punch counting that a fighter held an opponent without a connect in an entire round. Letterman, how do you have it through 9?
Jim, you know, those numbers only point out the fact that you have to give Roy Jones credit for great defense as well as ring generalship and great punching. 90-79, 9 rounds to nothing. Roy Jones Jr. I think he's just pitching a shutout. I think it's one of the best performances I ever saw him put on against the current reigning world champion. I mean, this is some performance by Jones. Quick, he's got as much speed now as he did in the first round.
Only the 2 two-point rounds.
Jim, let me point out something. I've just warned Roy Jones for measuring Reджi Johnson. Some referees will let you get away with it as long as you keep the glove closed. Elmo's not letting Roy measure Reджi Johnson. He wants him to pull the left arm back.
George? Jones just so much quicker.
I think the biggest mistake for Reджi was to get in that knockout. In the last, to win the world championship by way of knockout, started to put a lot of confidence into power that just was not there tonight.
Well, but he was perfectly satisfied to go for the decision against Will Taylor a few months ago to set this fight up. Maybe he felt coming in tonight as though his best chance was going to be to knock Roy out.
Yeah, because it seems to me all night he's been waiting to counter and get in one big shot.
Johnson was very respectful of Jones in pre-fight publicity. When he came to news conferences to promote the fight, as was the case here in the past week, he said, hey, I'm the underdog and I ought to be the underdog. Everybody knows who Roy is, but I'm planning to win the fight in big style.
Roy is totally dropping his hands as though he has no regard, no respect for Reджi now.
Well, I think he feels as though he's taken all the snap out of Reggie's punches with his body punching and the punishment he's dealt out.
And he still possesses his speed. I'm Reджi, put my feet together and start walking this guy down, throwing hard shot.
Low blow by Johnson. Jones points it out to Adolf. Adolf properly warns Reджi to keep him up.
You see, when you're fighting a guy and he spreads his legs, he's farther and farther away from you. What do you want to do? Don't spread yours also. Bring those feet together and walk them down, keeping the feet no more than 1 foot apart from one another.
Looks like it's a lesson Johnson will have to learn for another fight. Some numbers in only 1 round of the fight as Reджi Johnson landed in double figures by CompuBox punch count.
You got 2 rounds left in you, man.
He got to catch up. We ain't got to catch up.
Don Turner wants to know if Reggie's got 2 rounds left in him.
Just keep your arm busy like you did that round. You make a mistake, throw some big stuff. It works.
It's step close every time. You understand? Bing, bing, bing.
Boy, Larry Merchant would have something to say about right now.
He's saying it at home.
Call us up, Larry.
Elsewhere in Mississippi, at the United States Women's Open Golf Championships, Reджи Johnson's punch stat numbers would make a pretty good scorecard. He'd be the only player in the field with a hole-in-one.
I was saying earlier, when a puncher spreads his leg, don't you spread yours also. You bring your feet closer together and march him down.
You all right? Huh? All right, hold on. Bucks, let's go.
See how far Reggie's left hand is from Roi Jones?
Yeah.
Brings his foot up just a little closer. Bring it up a little closer. Don't spread your legs.
Brings his foot up closer and goes to the body with the left hand.
All right, let's go. Get out.
He's in business.
Not gonna punch. Get out. Let's go.
Continuing to add polish to what has been a brilliant, dominant performance against Reджи Johnson so far. Johnson, a seasoned professional, has to be totally realistic about the scorecards, looking for some way to find a knockout opportunity.
I think the crowd made Roi Jones start picking up the punches.
You think the crowd was too quiet for his
crowd started to boo just a little bit, and he didn't like that. He's a performer like anyone else, like any other rapper. I want the crowd to boo you.
Right, let's go.
Pounding Johnson back into the ropes with right hands.
Body punching this time.
Don't hold. Let's go, fellas. Let's go. Get out.
A spirited bid to try to knock Reджи out in the 12th round.
Yeah, he's conserving his energy right now for something. He didn't expel too much energy in the middle rounds, right?
Round 11 will come to a close. Another dominant performance by Jones.
Okay, let's show round, baby. Wipe that floor. Over here, baby. You want another call on your back? Let's show round. Make him find you. You can't win unless you knock you out, baby. On the back, dog. Way to work. I know it.
Talk to me, Nigel. Last round. Relax,
Last round, baby. Come on, baby. Last round.
Last round, champ. Come out and touch gloves, okay?
Okay.
Last round, champ. Come out and touch gloves.
Hey, baby. All right, Joseph.
Reджи Johnson has never had a 12th round knockout in his career. In round 11, by CompuBox numbers, he landed 2 out of 32 punches, another terrific golf score. And Roi Jones was relaxed enough to say hello to the round card girl as she passed by his corner.
Means he's paying attention to the rounds, huh?
There you go. He was pleased to see that it was round 12, I guess. So here's the last stanza of what has been so far a virtuoso demonstration of the most incomparable set of talents in the sport of boxing.
One thing I can say about Oscar De La Hoya, a fighter's going like this, he will take a chance. He doesn't care. He'll go for a knockout.
Hey, listen, you used the right word for De La Hoya earlier. His courage is proven, and few fighters have had more chances to prove it because of the tough circumstances he's been in.
De La Hoya is high on my list. I think number 10 as far as courage, as far as everyone else being number 7 and 8.
Roy Jones, however, has all of these gifts in his arsenal. And now Jones choosing whether to go all out in an effort to close the show with a flourish, or simply taking what will be an overwhelmingly easy decision, while Reджи Johnson continues to look for an opportunity to land one overwhelming, life-changing shot.
You know, Muhammad Ali was kind of like that. Get ahead on a fight. Never wanted to hurt the other guy too much.
Well, there's so much moisture in Jones's corner, it's not surprising that Johnson went down. That was another hard right-hand lead by Roy Jones.
Roy Jones got a little mercy in his gloves, too.
Now Reджи Johnson wants to fire the jabs.
Jones is saying to himself, look, this guy didn't disrespect me, stayed in his place. I'm just going to be satisfied and just winning the fight, because there were some opportunities for him to really hurt Reджi. He didn't do it.
Jones appreciates professionalism, and he was quoted several times before this fight saying, hey, I respect Reджi. He's a champion and a pro fighter and somebody who's really good. I'm just going to beat him.
He's doing the old mouse game now. Hit your hold.
Punch inside. Don't just wrestle. Let's punch inside.
Reджi Johnson talking to Jones now as we come down the stretch.
Reджi's mom and dad can be proud. He finished. Got up and kept fighting.
Let's go. Get out. Break it clean. Break it clean.
They could have been proud even if he were knocked out. There's no embarrassment in losing to as great a fighter as Roy Jones Jr. And a little air of anticlimax for the crowd as they feel they've known who the winner would be since round one. Probably most were hoping to see a knockout as the icing on the cake, but Reджi Johnson able to go the distance, although overwhelmed by the multiple talents of Jones. Here's the hard right hand and the slip in the Jones corner.
There you go.
This close to being a knockdown, Roy? I mean,
there was power right behind it, but the slip was what it was all about.
Freudian slip, me calling you Roy. Your brother Roy, seated over here at ringside. Your buddy Roy up here in the ring.
Just don't call me too late for dinner.
No one ever has, have they?
Not yet.
And some highlights now of the 12 rounds of dominance by Jones against Reджi Johnson. It started in round number 1. Straight right hand, knockdown. And then in round 3, more of the same. This one will be a left hand to set it up, and then the other straight right, knockdown again. And then through the closing rounds, there were some brutal body shots. Here's in round 4, more of Jones with the right hand. And that brutal body shot with the left hand in round 8.
Number 1, I told y'all.
Hard to imagine that he lost a round. Let's go to Michael Buffer to hear the scores.
Ladies and gentlemen, we go to the scorecards. All 3 judges, Paul Sita, Koba Jesus, and Chuck Hassett, scored the bout 120 to 106 for the winner, who is now the unified light heavyweight champion of the world from Pensacola, Florida, Roy Jones Jr.
Final CompuBox numbers, and these will be as lopsided as any you've ever seen. Jones outlanding Johnson by 224 punches. Jones throwing 140 more punches than Johnson. Johnson landing at a connect percentage of 13%, about 1/3 the rate at which he was landing punches against other fighters coming in. And 52% connect percentage for Roy. Roy, you getting a look at these total punch numbers? You're familiar with this stuff from...
When you get 30 years old, you know, sometimes things seem a little different. But first, I'd like to thank God for giving me the opportunity, for blessing me to come out and perform the way I do. I love everybody. I'd like to say what's up to all the troops over in Kosovo. Happy birthday to all my friends around the world. Happy Mother's, Father's Day, anything I might have missed because I've been off the air for a while. But I really enjoy performing for my people. I really love fighting. I really enjoy doing what I do, and I love when I have good competition. If Larry was here, Larry would say, Roy, did he hurt you at any time in the fight? Larry, nah, he didn't hurt me. He got heavy hands, but he's much too slow for me. Do you feel it? Do you feel as though fighting all the left-handers got you properly prepared for Reджи Johnson? Well, you know, it's kind of like I know how to fight any hander guy. It don't make a difference if it's left-handed, right-handed. I know how to do what it takes to win. So when Roy Jones comes out there, Roy Jones comes out there to do what it takes to win. And that's all Roy's about. What's up, Big George?
Any other Larry questions you know of at this point?
Larry probably got a lot of them for me, but I answer them when I see him. But I knew those would be two. So I did that for my boy Larry, because Larry, all right, Larry has learned to love me, you know, and I really appreciate that.
Well, there are a lot of people who are learning to love you and your talent. This was a big occasion. I know there was special satisfaction in the first-round knockout of Montel Griffin when you were avenging that disqualification. This was as great a performance as you could possibly have put together for 12 rounds in our eyes. You agree?
Yeah, because you got to think about it. Anytime you bring somebody that think they can beat me, I love it. And I like Reджi. I enjoy Reджi coming. My father worked with Reджi and got Reджi real good, but the one time I sparred with Reджi, I knew I was much too fast for Reджi. That's why I sparred one round and got down, because I knew I could beat him. My father didn't think we'd fight, but I knew we'd fight. And, you know, sometimes, like I said, God tells people things through other sources. So God was telling me that this day would come, so I was prepared for it. I knew I just had to be in good shape. Thank for the basketball. Basketball got me excellent shape. Thank Rex Morgan and the Gulf Coast Sun Dogs, because they helped me. They worked hard. We ran a lot, and that took my mind off of boxing, which didn't make it so boring for me to get prepared for this fight.
Yeah, it's good to do 9 different things. Now, was there a temptation in the later rounds, because the crowd got a little bored, was there a temptation in the later rounds to risk a little more and go for the knockout?
A big temptation, but that's where that self-discipline comes in. You have to be self-disciplined. That's what I got. That's why, like Ice Cube say, I'm a vet. You know, I've been doing this thing for 20 years. I know how to keep my composure, maintain. I came in the fight, I had a bruised rib from training, but I didn't complain. I didn't say nothing to nobody because I don't have excuses. You know what I'm saying? I came to win. My mother.
Somebody managed to bruise your rib in training?
Well, actually, what happened was I got caught. I threw a hook and I got through a body shot, and it caught me turned wrong, but I didn't stop. He didn't know he bruised my rib because I don't care. Because nothing's gonna stop Roy Jones when Roy Jones comes to win. Bodyhead Entertainment coming out. I got a new CD coming out about August, so look on my website. You can get that too. You heard a little bit of it tonight.
And speaking of websites, we asked a question on our HBO boxing website tonight, which was, of course, if Roy beats Reджi Johnson, would you like to see him go up and campaign as a heavyweight? Here are the results. We had more than 6,000 people vote. 59% said yes, 41% said no. What about your vote?
My vote is whatever the most people want. If people want to see me fight a heavyweight fight, and there's a chance to fight for 6 titles in one night, of course, you know, Roy Jones Jr. is going to accept the challenge. I'm not afraid to fight anybody. I'm not afraid to fight anywhere, anytime. I don't care. I don't have excuses. I'm very disappointed in the fact that Roberto Garcia thought that we were setting him up to take a decision from him.
We told the story at the beginning of the evening about Garcia leaving.
That really hurt me, but I had to come in and perform extra hard for Smoke to let Smoke know that just because things happen to you like that in life, you know, God gives us downfalls to find out how badly we want to achieve our goals. And that was just another downfall that God put in his way so that he can make sure that when Smoke gets an opportunity, he will be ready.
You'll keep working to help your buddy Derek Gainer get a title shot.
That was my main reason for taking this fight, because I wanted Smoke to get a title shot. So when the fight fell through, I guess you know it crushed my dream.
So it was more about Smoke than about you unifying the light heavyweight championship.
All that was for Smoke. All that was for Smoke. You know, that really, it didn't mean much to me. I know I'm the best fighter in the world. I know can't nobody beat me when I'm on my game. I had nothing to prove. I was doing that for Smoke Gainer. And
if you had something to prove,
all my other guys. I got Johnny Augustus right, all my rap guys. I'm doing that for all these people.
If you had something to prove, you would have proved it tonight. Roy, thank you very much. Congratulations. Former light heavyweight champion Reджи Johnson here.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Hand speed, second and none, baby. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Reggie, you're a pro, but you were in against a buzzsaw. I mean, you got knocked down in the first, you got knocked down in the third. From that point forward, you had to be looking for a big shot.
Well, you know, that first fight, he didn't even hurt me. I kind of seemed like I slipped a little bit. The second fight was a good, legitimate shot. It stunned me. But, you know, I recuperated real quick. I got to get a man his props. Superior hand speed, and my whole thing was trying to time him. And, you know, I would be foolish to just try to run in there, because this guy's hand speed is unbelievable.
As the rounds went by, you were landing fewer and fewer punches, and it seemed as though you must have just been waiting for the one opportunity for him to make a mistake.
Well, not only that, I'm going in there with caution, because, like I tell you, the punch that gets you is the one you don't see. So, you know, my thing was to strategize and get inside and try to, like, pit-pat and catch Roy with something big, maybe with my big right hook. But, you know, his hand speed, you know, this guy, he do a lot of things wrong, but his hand speed makes up for everything.
Hey, listen, you're a student of the game. Don Turner, you're a student of the game. Our website viewers, people who voted there, they want to see Roy go up and campaign as a heavyweight. You think he can do damage as a heavyweight?
Well, you know, conceive it, believe it. The human mind is a powerful thing. We can do anything that we conceive in our mind and have the faith to do. So, I mean, you know, if Roy decided to do that, you know, I'm pretty sure he had the hand speed and he's smart enough to do it. I think the only thing I liked tonight was matching his hand speed. I just couldn't, you know, I thought I could come in and make up with that with my timing, but I just couldn't do it.
You train Evander Holyfield. Could Roy Jones hold his own against Evander Holyfield?
You know, I don't think so. You know, Roy Jones is a very, very good fighter. Awful lot of speed. I don't think he's strong enough for a guy like Evander. You know, in spite of his hand speed, Holyfield got good hand speed too. And Holyfield was just pressing. I think he's just too big for him.
Well, we'll see what happens. Don, Reggie, thank you very much for your time and the professional effort. Hey, listen, it's our privilege to have you. All right? We'll have a final word on what happened here in the ring in Biloxi in just a minute. Right now, let's look ahead to some more upcoming programs here on HBO.